along with photographer David Rust. For these guys and for the rest of the CNN crews that were there dodging sniper fire was all part of everyday life during the conflict. As Nick discovered when he returned for the reunion, many things he remembers about the city remain the same.
This is where we used to come to work almost every day when we were in Bosnia, from the summer of 1992 until the fall of 1995. Television Sarajevo. The ID cards we get today, almost like they were back then. It's like walking down memory lane, and this is one of those bad parts of memory lane. This is where our cameraman David Albritton was injured. He was walking down the stairs here. A bomb landed outside there. The glass blew in. He got wounds, bad wounds, glass wounds in his arm and in his neck. Very, very badly injured. And if you look outside into that courtyard, look at the wall there, you can see those deep pot shrapnel marks, the scar holes from that 500-pound bomb that landed. And this is where our office used to be, up on the second floor of the building. All round here, there were the offices of the international television companies. We shared a very compact area in the TV station. Let's go through these heavy doors. After you, Dave. Dave Rust. You were our cameraman back then. I was a producer for Christian Amanpour. My job then was to make sure there was enough fuel in the armored car, make sure that we could get to the stories we needed to get to. Talked about going down memory lane. This is my first time back since then. Now, I recognize it. How would I ever forget? This is our office right here. Hello. Dobar dan. Kako si? Very nice to see you. Thank you for letting us come in. I can't believe that it used to be so small. Sorry, guys. Right here in the cupboards, we used to keep our tapes and our food. And over here in the corner of the office in the winter, we had sort of an oil heater. And I remember looking out the window there into the car park outside and seeing a mortar landing right there. And for me, this room was made very famous at a very significant moment. This is where Christiane was doing her live shot, where she famously asked President Clinton the flip-flop question.
Why, in the absence of a policy, have you allowed the US and the West to be held hostage to those who do have a clear policy, the Bosnian Serbs? And do you not think that the constant flip-flops of your administration on the issue of Bosnia sets a very dangerous precedent and would lead people to take you less seriously than you would like to be taken?
No, but speeches like that may make them take me less seriously than I'd like to be taken. There have been no constant flip-flops, madam. I ran for president saying that I would do my best to limit ethnic cleansing and to see the United States play a more active role in resolving the problem in Bosnia.
She was live up there on the roof, and everyone in the office here was in silence while that was happening. And that's where we used to live, the Holiday Inn, and back then the front of it was covered in shell holes from tank fire, because right down that street there, those buildings right down there, that's where the front line was. The tanks would fire up here. And this road here was known as Sniper Alley. Back then, there was virtually no traffic on it whatsoever. And that was the road where our camerawoman, Margaret Moth, was shot by a sniper. And we got an armored car after that, and this was the window from that armored car, the glass, the heavy glass. Look how thick it is. And that was from a bullet hole, a bullet hitting the car as our driver, Sergeant Jovovic, back then was driving our armored car. And around Sarajevo back then, you used to find these signs: Pazi, sniper, attention, sniper, take care, sniper. The city was a very, very dangerous place. We've come here because this was so super secret during the war. We weren't allowed to film here, weren't allowed even to come here, know where it was. This was the tunnel that broke the siege of Sarajevo. And this is how the food and the ammunition was being brought into the city to allow it to survive, to allow it to keep defending itself. And when you look over here, you can see this mortar round in the ground. This was what was being fired at the people resupplying the city. The tunnel is now a museum to the siege of Sarajevo, but what makes it quite amazing is where it was located, right underneath the airport over here. And when I think about it now, for 3 years, the siege of Sarajevo, that airport over there was being controlled and run by the United Nations. For 3 years, the United Nations were effectively helping enforce the siege of Sarajevo. Incredible when you think about it now. Back then, I remember Christiane doing a story about people running across the airport, risking their lives. One man just for a handful of half-rotten apples to feed his family in Sarajevo. And this is an example of just how much the country has changed. McDonald's, when it was opened just towards the end of last year, the president of the country came here to open it. Let's taste the espresso. Not too bad. And around this city, you're seeing high-rises going up, offices, apartment blocks being developed, lots of money being spent. Remembering back then, it was just around the corner up there, one of the worst killings in Sarajevo, the famous Marketplace massacre. More than 60 people killed. But now I find when you look around the streets here, young people over here, they weren't even born back then during the war, and most people don't want to talk about it. The worst of days, more than 3,000 shells a day falling here. But people don't want to talk about it. They're focused on jobs, the economy, the integration into Europe. And that's what's bringing them together. How are you?
Thank you for your job for Bosnia.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you very much, too. Thank you very much. Very nice to meet you. And that's what people are telling us. They're coming up to say thank you for back then, and thank you for coming back today. People don't want to talk about the war. What's bringing the communities together is the search for jobs, the integration into Europe. Maybe the coffee, too. I'm liking it. It's great to be back. Nic Robertson, CNN, Sarajevo.